honored your moms. I know it's one day of the year. You know what, you guys? Mother's Day is and should be every day of the year, and we will continue to honor our moms. I know I got the pleasure of hanging with my mom in Ottawa, Canada. As everyone knows, I'm from Canada. And it was great hanging out with her and having great food and chats and laughs. We even planted a little flower garden at my dad, who recently passed away in December last year, at his gravesite. So that was nice, just reminiscing and just thinking about dad and stuff like that. And as I was enjoying the time in Ottawa, I saw the beautiful, talk about diaspora, and this relates to diaspora and bridging communities locally and internationally around the globe. The beautiful tulips that have blossomed in Ottawa. Ottawa is well known for the Tulip Festival every year. People come from all over the world. Gazillions of people come to Ottawa, which is our nation's capital in Canada. And they come to see these tulips that are just magnificent, like the vibrance and brilliant colors. And a little history on those tulips. They were gifted, go figure, by the princess, by the Dutch royal family in the Netherlands, and Princess Juliana in 1945 gave, get this, 100,000 tulip bulbs. I know 2 weeks ago I was like whining about, oh, well, I was happy about spring, and then I was like, oh, spring, because it means, our flower boxes and our flower pots and veggie gardens. But to think of 100,000 tulips, like who does that and who plants 100,000 tulips? Anyway, so in 1945, she gifted them to Canada, in particular to Ottawa, because during the war, Ottawa sheltered the Dutch royal family during the Nazi invasion. And so they came to Canada. The Princess Juliana and her family came to Canada. At the time, she was pregnant with Princess Margaret. And her daughter was born at the Ottawa Civic Hospital, which still exists today in Ottawa. And her daughter was deemed, I think, a ward of the territory, just to keep her safe. She was in Ottawa. So again, to give gratitude and thanks to what Canada did for this royal Dutch family, they gave these bulbs, which today the descendants of these tulip bulbs are like 2 million fold of these tulips all over Ottawa, along our Parliament Hill where our government is, and then along the Rideau Canal. And there may be other parts of Canada that were re-gifted some of these tulips, because how many tulips can one city hold? So that was just a little history, and I think it paired nicely with just the concept of Mother's Day. So here we are, and again, as I said, we're WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM, and I'm your host of the Diaspora Door. I'm Enzi Obanello, and we are having guests return to us, and we're doing kind of like a part two. You'll remember a couple of weeks ago we had Grace Tyson and her mom, Beth DiPasquale, on. And we were talking about letterboards and communication, how non-speakers communicate, and utilizing the spell to communicate. And as we were talking about all that, we spoke a little bit, Beth, Grace's mom, spoke a little bit about Beth Frede. So we've got two Beths as guests. So we've got Beth squared here. So we're going to have Beth D, as in Beth DiPasquale, as in Grace Tyson's mom. And then we have Beth Frede, who will refer to as Beth F. And she is a certified spelling to communicate practitioner. And she's an advocate for non-speakers. So the two Beths are in the house, and we're going to talk about just what it means to teach students how to utilize spelling to communicate, and also from Beth Frede to find out her journey, how she became a practitioner, why, what are the challenges, what have been the successes, which I'm sure she's got many to tell us. Beth has been a practitioner since, I believe, 2022, and she helps students develop the purposeful motor control needed to express their thoughts. Because oftentimes people are thinking that non-speakers, it's a cognitive issue, that's why they can't that's the challenge. Many people are thinking, which is misunderstood, and it's more of how can people and practitioners similar to Beth Frede assist them to bridge their individual's internal thoughts with external motor sensory. So we're going to hear from Beth Frede, who has worked with so many people, being their advocates and giving them the ability to have a tool, whether it be, as you heard when we spoke a couple weeks ago with Grace Tyson, utilizing a letterboard to be able to express thoughts and ideas. So before we jump in, I'm of course going to welcome Beth Squared, both Beths here.
We actually go by B1 and B2.
B1, B2.
Okay. So B1 is Beth DiPasquale and B2 is Beth Frede. So Beth, Beth Frede, the first thing we always ask our guests, what does diaspora mean to you, please?
Thank you so much for having me. First of all, I'm so excited to be here.
Great to have you. Thank
you. So when I think of diaspora, I guess it's, very common to think of geography when you think of diaspora. But, and I think of it also as a lack of cultural fluency when you are a stranger in a strange land, so to speak, right? So homeland is where you don't have to think about the social mores and the norms and the traditions and all of those constructs. You just know what to do. You know what's expected. Everybody gets it. It's like breathing. It's just there, right? But when I don't have a child with autism. I do have a family member.
Yes.
But when you receive what I've learned from Beth and my other parents is that when you receive a diagnosis of autism for your child and it's like level 3, or they're not able to communicate with you, it's as if you have kind of been automatically exiled from the homeland of the neurotypical, you know? And it's like you step over this invisible boundary line and suddenly you're in this land where you have to navigate all of these things in a country that's not made for your kid.
Yes.
It's not made for your family, So how do you do the library? How do you do a grocery store? How do you do a birthday party when everybody's expectations of you and your child are, oh, don't do that, or stop them from this, or why are they behaving like that, or what, it's just not made for them.
Yes.
And so these families are just like Beth, spend so much time, money, effort, trying all the things to navigate these systems and constructs and all the things, and they, you can only assimilate to this foreign land only so well as your child's body is able to do what she tells it to do or control it. And for these guys and girls, they don't have that motor control, right?
Exactly.
So in my opinion, the greatest thing that we can do for them is to give them a means of communication that works for their bodies, that works for them, so that they can say all the things and they can, experience all the things that us neurotypical people take for granted.
Yes.
And they can, it's like the bridge to their autonomy. Yeah. They can decide, what do they want to do today? What do they want to study? I don't like broccoli.
Yeah.
All the things you can go to the doctor and say what you need to say. I know Beth has a story about that. So it's just, and it's bigger than that. It keeps growing. So I've been a practitioner since 22, end of 2022. My students are now like the senses of humor on some of these kids. Like, it's amazing.
Yep.
And also just the compassion, the heart. I lost my dog a couple years ago, and the first thing my first student said to me after we put our dog down was, I asked him a question from the lesson we were working on.
Yeah.
He didn't answer it. He says, "I'm really sorry about your dog."
Oh.
That was the first thing he spelled to me. So these non-speakers are not what you think they are.
Yes.
They are
yes.
not who you think they are.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you so much. Thank you, Beth.
Thank you.
So, Beth DiPasquale, you have, when we ended the show a couple weeks ago, you gave two like priceless examples of how, wow, like the letterboard and Grace's ability to spell and communicate what is on her mind. Holy smokes, a deal changer, just a game changer.
Yeah.
Please, can you just share with our audience those two examples?
Sure.
That I thought one was very, very funny. I thought
Oh, if you live with Grace, you know how funny things are.
humor, we got it.
Oh,
we got to
it's-
have humor, my
That's
friend. We
hilarious.
got to have humor.
So, and I just want to preface that by saying that, and I'm sure Beth can agree with this, that it's a miracle to actually figure out how brilliant these people are. But like I said the last time I was here, it's also just the little things. And that one little thing is that Grace has psoriasis, so we were at the dermatologist, and she had developed just a little, redness on her face, and so the doctor asked her, can you explain? She looked at it, and then she said, "Well, can you explain how it feels?" So I gave Grace the letterboard, and she told the doctor that it feels hot, and she was able to describe it more. Now, had the doctor not heard that, she would have just said, "Oh, just use the cream that you use for your psoriasis." But that cream is actually a warming cream, so that would have actually made it worse. But because Grace was able to describe it and tell exactly how it felt to her, she was like, "Oh no, that we got to prescribe something different."
Instead of assuming or
Exactly,
presume
yeah.
what they thought,
and
because she can't verbally speak,
yeah,
we're going
and
to guess.
for 20 years, we had to do that. We had to assume. We had to try to read her, and
how frustrating for poor Grace.
Sure.
Right? As she's trying to get, and what physical,
sure.
right?
Well, like I said the last time, how many times have we seen people with autism have these meltdowns and have these moments of frustration? But is it a behavioral thing? Absolutely not.
Yes. Yeah.
They want to just, let me just add this too. When people start doing spelling and they start to become open, I'm sure Beth has a million stories, but so many of them just say, "I'm in here. I have an opinion. I want to have a voice.
Yes.
I want to be heard."
Let me be heard.
You
Let
know?
me out. Let me out. Yeah,
Yeah.
let me be heard. Let me be
Yeah.
heard. You told me the hilarious, and then Beth Frede, I want to find out how you became a practitioner, just to go back. Beth, you told me the story of dog walker or whatever. Like,
Oh,
people
it's
assuming.
hilarious.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
hilarious. So, and this story will just prove that they are, my daughter's 23. She is 23, and she acts like a 23-year-old.
Yes.
Or she
As
thinks like
should.
one anyway.
Yeah.
So there's a group of men who had they have this business, and they created this program where they sit down and they work with high schoolers and ask them a ton of questions, and then I guess the program ultimately will produce some fields that they would be
Oh, yeah.
would be good for them to do that. So I was having a conversation with Grace, and I said, we should talk with them again and see if there might be some way that we can do that with spellers. And she's like, yeah, that's a great idea. And I said, because no, you have to know that my daughter hates animals. Okay. So I said, what would you do if they said you would be a great dog walker? She said, I would tell them to go.
We've got the F-bomb there.
So, it was just classic. And the hardest part about being a mom who is a communication partner is trying to be the communication partner when they're when they're saying something like that, because you got to be, that board's got to stay still, you got to be on, you still got to be coaching, and you're just dying inside because it's just so funny. Oh,
I love it.
she's precious.
I love it. I totally love it. Thank you, Beth. So, Beth Frede, please walk us through how and why did you become a practitioner? Was it initiated, or were you inspired? Because I know you have a family member who uses the spell to communicate.
Yes.
So I don't know if you were a practitioner when they were using it or you brought them in. Like what?
They brought me in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what were you before an astronaut going to Mars? I don't know. What were you before you became a practitioner? Please.
I was a lot of things. I couldn't
Okay.
really, I couldn't find my footing for a while. But actually, right before I was a practitioner, I was working with seniors with dementia
Okay.
at a CCRC, a continuing care residence, and it was wonderful. But then we went through COVID, and
Yeah.
it was nobody died of COVID, fortunately there. But by the end of that, I was so ready to do something life affirming and be around the life side of things. But I wasn't looking for anything else. My sister-in-law, whose son is a non-speaker with autism, he's in his 20s now, had found, it was right after COVID, someone had sent her the book Underestimated, which is always the book I would recommend to anyone who is interested in learning more about non-speakers, minimal speakers, unreliable speakers with autism.
Underestimated.
JB and Jamie Handley.
Thank you.
Such a great book and a quick read, and you will learn so much. And please, please, please read it. Everybody out there who's listening, if you haven't read it, but she read it, and the description of Jamie, who is the son with autism, and JB is the dad. They wrote the book together.
And Beth DiPasquale, I think you mentioned that.
That was my book.
Yeah, that was
My
your book.
book recommendation.
Yeah. Yes.
Book
High
up.
five. Yeah, I
So,
remember that.
It's just it's just like a primer for anyone getting into this spelling world or trying to understand it. So she was sent the book Underestimated, read it, saw her son Luke in every page, signed him up immediately for Spelling to Communicate sessions with a practitioner in California, sent us the book. My mother-in-law read it. I read it. And as I was reading it, I was like, this, everything in me was like, this is it. I have to do this.
Wow.
So I knew before I even finished reading the book, I was like, I'm going to find out how to do this, And I did, and I just was like, that's it. I never looked back. So
Wow. And how did you find out as you said, how to do this?
Sure. So in the book, they mentioned IASC, which is I-ASC. It stands for the International Association for Spelling as Communication. And that's where JB and Jamie started their spelling journey. And so I looked that up, and there was all the information I needed for how to get started. There was an information session that I signed up for, and that started me off.
Wow.
Yeah.
Beth, tell me, to me, it just makes sense. It seems like a no-brainer that this is a tool that helps individuals connect with the rest of us who are speakers. Why?
Yes.
Can you explain to me why there is another camp that says, no, this is not legit, this is not useful?
Yeah.
Not that you're their spokesperson, but why are they saying that?
Yeah.
This is Beth's favorite topic.
Oh,
It's
good.
not my favorite
Okay,
topic.
good.
Not my favorite topic. talking about the graces of the world is my favorite
Yes.
topic. But yeah, it's an old sort of stereotype that goes back a ways, and spelled communication has been around for quite a while.
Okay.
But it's developed different iterations as we've gone, and like any practice, there are good actors and there are bad actors. There are issues and there are good things. And I mean, overall, it was very helpful to spellers right along, but there were
Yes.
some issues early on that made the naysayers kind of grab hold and say, "Oh, it's not a thing. Just look at these people. How can they possibly have intelligence? It's you making them do."
Yes. Yeah.
So part of the issue was, I don't know how deep in the weeds you want to get.
Go
but
ahead, Beth. We've got 31 minutes.
All right.
And I have 20 other questions. So plan accordingly, Beth.
So don't go too deep in those weeds.
I won't get too deep. But anyway, so now there are still these naysayers that are saying, oh, spelled communication, blah, blah, blah. But the science is catching up. The science is starting to catch up. But also the spelling community is just growing by leaps and bounds. I mean, the thing is, the naysayers do not, they are basing their claims on old things that happened in the past that they judge to be like, okay, spelling is not real. Also, they are not looking, they have not spoken to, they have not looked at, talked to families of non-speakers who are using spelled communication, talk to spellers themselves to
Yes.
find out what their lived experience is, NZ, and you know how important that is. Your lived experience, only you can say what that is.
Yep.
Right?
It's your narrative only.
your
Yes.
narrative.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
they're not talking to these guys and girls. So it's still perpetuated by people who stand to lose a lot of money, stand to lose a lot of clients, And I'm not saying that those things aren't helpful to some people.
Yes. Understood. Yeah.
If
Yeah.
I'm, can be clear without really saying the thing.
Yeah.
But if you've had your kid in speech therapy for so many years and they're not progressing and they're not able to speak, one, maybe it's not the most helpful thing for them, and two, it's not necessarily that they don't understand.
Yes.
You need motor control, and a lot of it, and a lot of fine motor control to speak, to text, to type, to write,
Yes.
to sign, all the things. And so, and communication's different than typing a list or writing a list, because a lot of my students can do those things before they get to me, but that's not the same thing as communication. So, but anyway, so it takes a lot of motor control to be able to do those things. And if you don't have motor control, if you have apraxia,
Yes.
which is where basically you know what you want to do or say, but you can't reliably make your body do it, especially for novel things, on-demand things, unpracticed things.
Yes.
You can't show what you know.
Exactly.
And like we said before, that's the biggest problem with our children, is that people do not presume competence. It's like, that's our banner. And if you don't presume competence, you're not going to go and find those things that are going to allow your, and just to talk about what you were saying about speech therapy, it's kind of irritating because, Grace did speech therapy for 15 years and she was still an unreliable speaker.
Yes.
So why wouldn't somebody want, you can't tell me you have 100% success rate with all your therapies, because there are those people who have autism, have apraxia, and they're non-speakers. So why wouldn't you want one more tool in your toolbox?
Yes.
I don't understand it, but like Beth said, it's a movement now. So we have so many
huge.
people. It is huge, and people are inquiring every single day. I was talking about the family support conference.
Yes, in New Hampshire.
And just yesterday, if you don't mind me sharing,
Please.
another mom, and that's the other thing, is that we're all meeting Beth's families, her students. We're meeting as families too, you know. So
Yes.
we've developed
A
these new
connection,
friendships.
support.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So
yes.
there's one other woman. Her name is Marie, and Marie and I are the ones that created the website. So she called me up the other day. She said, "I've got these two people who are really interested in doing S2C with their kids, but they want to hear a little bit more about it. Do you think you and Grace could come?" So we met at Starbucks, and I think within 10 minutes they were both bawling their eyeballs. So, you know, because they saw
For
they
real.
have non-speaking children, and when they just kept, they were literally crying and just shaking their heads going, "We can't believe
Leave
this."
this. Yeah. Yeah.
And-
What a gift. What a gift.
Grace has become an incredible advocate.
Yes, 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 because they're going to be working on a nonprofit that we
Yes.
heard about. Beth, please, as you look at employers, do you see how does it? Do you work with individuals who maybe in a work environment and an employer wants to know, okay, how can we work with the Spell to Communicate or the letterboard? Do you also work with not just the student, but also their environment, whether it's school or employer? I'm
Those
very
are great questions.
interested in the
Yeah.
employer for sure. Yeah.
We haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
So in New Hampshire, I am one of 3 practitioners only.
Only.
Yeah, when I
With how
started, there
many?
wasn't anybody else in the state.
With
So
approximately how many non-speakers would you say are in the state that
Yeah,
you?
we did.
Oh, gosh,
we did
we
the
really
number
don't-
right.
I don't
Was it
remember now.
25? No.
That we're working with? No, it was more than
more
that.
than that.
Oh, gosh.
45, like 45.
Maybe something like
Yeah.
that. I don't know. We each have our own caseload, and we're all individual. We're all working individually in our
and again,
under
it's
our own
3,
businesses, but-
Beth. You said there are
3
in the
practitioners.
state. Mhm.
So, but we do train the parents. We train other communication partners to work with the students. But we really need more. Like, we're at the point now where we need more practitioners, more communication and regulation partners, CRPs, to work with the spellers. Because think about it, you don't want to just spell. No offense to moms. I'm a mom. Like, I don't think my kid wouldn't want to spell only with me forever and ever. Like, you need other
Yes.
people in your community. You don't want to just spell with your practitioner. You know, you want other people. You want your peers. You want, you know.
Yes. Yes.
So
Can I put a plug in right now?
Sure, please.
Thanks. If you are interested in becoming a practitioner or interested in S2C, you can go to our website, which is www.nhspellers.com. And we have a whole page that shows you our 3 practitioners. And then it also has a resource page where you can get, just like Beth did, go to that I Ask website. And Spellers method also. There's 2 of them that are doing training.
Beautiful,
So-
beautiful. So, Beth, work us through how does an individual start?
Yeah. What's
how,
the process
How do you
of it?
teach? Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So when they come to us, we are, whatever age that student is, we're going to work off of lessons of
How
all
young?
different subjects.
How young have you?
My youngest right now is 8. I think she's just 8.
Okay. Wow.
but
wow.
Others work with younger students than that. I do not. I'm better with the
Okay.
10 and up set. I'll
Yeah.
be honest. But don't let that stop you. There are things that you can do ahead of time with your kid too to kind of get them ready. But littles are wiggly people and they have a
Yes.
lot of energy, so it's a different sort of thing. But for most students that I would see, whatever age they are, they're going to come to us and get age appropriate lesson material. They're going to learn something juicy for their brain. We're going to feed their brain because most likely they have not gotten it in school, right?
Yeah.
So we're working off a lesson. We use these lessons that are formatted to spelling to communicate. So there's a paragraph of text followed by some questions, and the questions are what the student they're based
Wow.
right off of that text, and so the student answers the questions, and that's how they practice their spelling. I read that blah 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 was the first man on the moon. Who was it? And so then they answer it, spelling it out. as we go along, so we start with these. I should have brought my letter boards in. I did not. But we have a series of increasingly more complex letter boards that we use as their skills grow. But they start off with a set of letter boards that only have a third of the alphabet on them, and they're stencils. They're big targets because they're trying to get their brain to work their body, and that is like the hardest thing for them to do on demand. And so they are taking a pencil and they're poking the letters. Now that sounds really easy, but you got to think of the letter, hold it in your head, move your eyes, which is fine motor control.
Yes.
And that's hard. Move your eyes to the letter. Okay, now you've located the letter. Now you have to keep your eyes there, which is a big, hard thing to do for many of my students, most of my students. Then you've got to hold on to this pencil and move from the shoulder when you have sensory motor differences and you might not even be able to feel where your body is in space, right?
Yes.
To get that pencil to the stencil while you're holding your eyes there, and then pull it back and then do the next one. That is a whole lot of motor control. So we do that. We practice and practice. And then eventually the questions, they move up to a letter board that has all 26 letters of the alphabet. And then the questions can expand and expand. So now we can ask a semi-open question. Oh, there were 2 fruits I listed in that are produced in the state of Washington. What are they? You know, and
Yes.
they can choose whether to go to cherries or apples or whatever they want. And then it gets even more open. Then they're doing small sentences, and then we go all the way until they've gotten those skills so much that they're fluidly moving now. They're able to look across that board, find the letter they want, and go there and bring back, and go there and bring back. So it's a flow that they have to develop. Then they can reach the point where it's like, okay, what did you think about that lesson? I mean, that is as open as it gets, right? What do you think? What do you think? And it is incredible, the responses that come out. You know, Grace, what's something you're interested in learning about? Beth?
I want to study economics.
Economics.
Wow.
And she has stuck with that.
Crazy.
She said it a million times. And then
It's
finally
real.
we
It's
did.
very real.
It is real. Then finally we were like, all right, Beth was like, I have all these learning materials. Do you want to do a book, some kind of curriculum with Grace? I said, sure. So we went in her room and I said, all right, here's your letterboard. What do you want to do? She's like, that one.
Yeah, it was a book called Economic Literacy.
Wow.
And we
that's
did
what she
it.
wanted to do.
And we did the whole thing. And she
Wow,
was there
incredible.
for it.
Wow. That's incredible. That's
And
incredible.
talking about stocks and right,
Uh-huh.
we were like, hey, we need to like figure out if you can help us out
And
with that.
see,
You know what I mean?
Exactly. I need help.
She was
inside trading.
by the end, like I had some questions and I'm like, but I don't understand this, Grace. And she was telling me, she was explaining
That
to
is
me
so
how it works.
cool.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
So-
it's not make believe. It's not made up. It's not you.
I
It's
don't
not
know
like
this
what
stuff.
do you know about economics? Exactly. It's not you. So how embracing are schools with this? Like with teachers?
Not yet. And that is part
It's
of
a
our
tough one, right?
Go ahead, Beth.
Well, so that's part of that's actually what sparked this whole legislative bill that we
Yes,
put in Grace's
yeah.
Law, which is HB 1215. A year before that it was entered, we actually put in a different legislation because we wanted to actually create a pilot program in schools using S2C. Unfortunately, that went before the Education Committee, and it got squashed.
Beth Frede, why? Why would it get squashed? I mean, because I would think, wow, bring it in. This is extra resources as a teacher. I
Yeah.
would think
Yeah.
it'd be interesting to hear it from the teacher standpoint, but
Yeah, it
this is
sounds like
another
it should
tool.
pass, right? No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's another
yeah.
tool. Like, please come in the class and
Yes.
help us, and let's combine our efforts.
Yeah. I always want to stay on high ground, so I'm going to go a little bit low.
Okay, no problem.
But so go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I don't actually think that that schools are not necessarily against it. I think that they would be open, but unfortunately, I don't think many of them know about it. So
That is one thing, and we were
That's
not
one part.
we were not as cohesive a group as we are now, or as big of a group as we are now. The spellers of New Hampshire, so we are growing. But one of the things was that speech therapy, their governing body, ASHA,
Yes.
has an anti-spelling stance. It's based off of
I might need
she's
this.
holding up her F bomb. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They so there was a speech therapy, let's say, influence in those proceedings that caused the bill to fail. A very strong connection anyway. I don't want to go into the
Because they're feeling all that stuff that you said at the beginning. That
Yes.
this is not
yes, but again,
evidence based. And
again, yes, exactly. So, just because there's not a million studies
yeah.
done yet does not mean the thing does not exist, does not mean it's not real. It's just, it takes time. It takes,
Yes.
and scientists have been reluctant to study this because of all of the naysayers, so they haven't wanted to touch it. But S2C is an iteration that has developed to the point where we're not holding the speller's hand or arm to, to guide them to letters or anything like that. Nobody was. That's a misnomer
Okay.
about some of the previous methods. But anyway, we're not touching them. We're not holding them. They are doing it. We are obviously guiding them with our words and prompting them in the acquisition phases, like you would when you learn a car and somebody's how to drive a car and somebody's helping you learn how to drive a car. They're not just like, well, you get in and drive, right?
And unfortunately, some people will see that, and because they don't understand the process,
Yes.
they get that
Yes.
thing in their mind that, I mean,
Oh, you're
if
cheating.
she, yeah, exactly. Like if
Yes.
we were having her spell the word cup, the vocal, the coaching, the motor coaching would be eyes up, up, over, but you don't say press that C, then press the U, then
Right.
press the B.
Yes.
So
That's right.
people have to see it.
Yes.
People have to see it in action.
And we fade
And-
those prompts. We
and
fade those
understand,
prompts.
yeah,
Please
and
understand too.
Right,
that,
and understand the process.
Yes.
And like you said, that's at the beginning.
Yes.
Now, when Beth works with Grace, I don't.
this is
Sometimes
what I
I go.
Are you-
If I'm in the other room, I'm like, are they even doing anything? Because she'll
Yeah.
type out the answers,
Yes.
and now Grace is will answer on the keyboard. So they,
I'm just sitting there going,
yeah, that's it.
Oh.
They
Yes.
don't even say anything now. So, but there is that process, and people have to understand it. But that's going to be part of what our foundation is going to be about. It's going to be about advocacy because we need more examples.
Definitely.
We need them to see. We need to be able to show people.
Definitely.
They
Definitely.
need to.
Definitely.
They need to see it.
Beth Frede, how does technology work into this? Like, how does technology? We saw Grace's letterboard, which was paper,
Yeah.
Laminate, yeah.
Yeah.
laminated paper.
Yeah.
But knowing AI, even I don't know, and technology, iPads and whatnot, do you work with that also? How does that assist?
So, so we start really low tech with our letterboards, our stencils. We move up to the laminate board, which is like what you're saying, that
Yes.
flat little piece of paper that that you just point to. So there's less sensory help for you on that. And then once a student gets to that laminate board, once they're proficient at it, they are openly communicating multiple sentence paragraphs, like they can say what they want to say. And
Yes.
so we ask them, do you want to then type? Are you interested in typing? Are you happy on the laminate? What do you want to do? So they get to say what they want, because it is a lot. It's a lot of extra work to type. You have to look down at the keyboard and then look up at a
Yes.
screen. Look down at a keyboard. Look up at a screen.
Yes.
So they're managing a lot. The letters are much closer together. It's a typical keyboard. So some people do. There are different I don't use any of these, but there are different apps for tablets that people use that mimic a keyboard. I'm sorry, that mimic like a letterboard, or I don't know, different things. I don't use any of that. That's not S2C sanctioned at this point. So
Okay,
I'm just
okay.
not, I haven't learned how to do any of those things.
Okay.
So I don't use any of that with my students. But yeah, but they, there are, I'm sure, different technologies coming. But it's basically, a regular old keyboard is what they're able to use a regular old keyboard once they get to that point, if they so choose.
And how do you shift people's thinking on this is not just cognitive, as you said, it's sensory, motor. How do you shift people's thinking as to, especially parents who, because Beth D, you may see some parents who, no, this makes no sense for me. I'm not, and you're
I was
thinking,
one of them.
Okay, so exactly. So how do you shift
when Beth
those
first
thoughts?
started working with Grace? They were sitting at a table doing the lessons, and I was sitting in the back, and I'm literally shaking my head, going,
Like, no.
"That ain't happening."
Okay.
But then I said, "Well, I'm going to do it. I have to learn to be her communication partner.
Yeah.
So once I do it, I know I'm not going to be faking it." But
Right.
personally, I feel like if they see it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
Once you see it, you can't unsee it. I think people just need to see it. So, like, I have a friend who lives in Massachusetts, and her son does spelling as well. And we'll go meet at Press Cafe, and have our two kids spelling to each other, and people will come to the table. What are you doing? What is that? We're
Okay.
exposure.
Yeah.
It's about
Yes.
exposure.
It
It's
is.
about
It
exposure.
is. I mean, I think for people who are, for parents who are, curious about it but scared to try it, Underestimated, please, or the Spellers movie.
Oh,
watch
go
the
watch
Spellers
Yes,
movie.
the documentary.
The documentary
right?
is on
the
YouTube.
link. Yeah, the link to that is also on our website.
Yes. Everything's on the New Hampshire Spellers website. So start there. It's a great place to start. But then once they're experiencing it and they can see that their kid is getting it, it's just like you cannot unsee it. But it can take a while, it can take a lot of time.
Grace was what, 2.5 years before she was open?
Yeah. But one of the things is speaking to your kid, presuming that they understand, talking to them like they're 23 if they are 23.
Yes.
It goes so far to them. It really does help their nervous system calm down too. I mean, it doesn't cure anything. It doesn't make it all go away and make it all better, but it really does go a long way towards helping them feel understood and seen for who they really are. I have a new parent. I think we've had 5 sessions now by Zoom. So they're doing it all, right? I'm just coaching from my side, but they're doing it all. And he's got a pretty complex body. And one of the things we talked about is, I know it's really hard. It's hard to wrap your brain around, but it will help him feel more regulated if you can just talk to him like the teenager he is. Those parents, God bless them, took that to heart. And in just 5 sessions, like, I'm looking at a different kid and a different, they're like, come on over, come sit down. We're just gonna, we're gonna finish this lesson, instead of like, come on, do you want to spell? Like all the things, which, and I don't mean to shame anyone, because what are parents doing? The very best they can.
Yes.
Based on the knowledge they had, the understandings they had, which is what everybody's told them. You're a kid. No, sorry. They're never going to fill in the blank.
They're never gonna.
But if you can hold just the belief that it's possible, and you talk to your kid as if they understand, you're just try it. Like, they understand, they get it, and it starts to change even at that level.
And it's an investment. I mean, parents also have to
Oh,
invest
yes.
and buy into it. It's not just magically, here you go hang out with Beth Frede, the practitioner. It's all those people involved in the person's community. So when you talk about the investment and parents being involved, how the other thing is your services and other practitioners, is it covered by insurance?
It's not yet, NZ, unfortunately. And
privately. So that's also a bit of a challenge, right?
It is,
for some
but
people.
But Beth and Grace were the first people to be covered in New Hampshire by their area agency funding.
Nice.
So,
okay. Yeah.
so now, like half my parents, at
Gateways,
least, right?
Hello, plug for
Hello,
Gateways.
Gateways. We love you.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Okay.
So Gateways
that's
was
your-
the first.
And,
And
that's
actually
your
we're-
advocacy.
Yeah. Well, and actually, Beth and I and two other women at our group, we created this presentation, which we gave to Gateways. But now there's another area agency in Portsmouth, One Sky, and we're talking with them. But he's going to try to get all the other area agencies so we can give the
Exactly.
presentation to them.
Because families who are in consumer-directed services and participant-driven can use funds. Probably that's what the other area agencies are talking about.
And what's
to go
more
towards.
important?
Yeah.
Right. It
Learning to
changes
communicate
every-
or,
Yeah.
going to the trampoline park,
You
I
know what I'm
say.
saying? Yeah.
Use the
And
money
at
for
the
spelling.
and at the end of the day, as I bring it back to employment for individuals, let individuals be able to access the workforce. We need people in the workforce, and wow, kudos! It's a win-win situation for employers and also
Yes.
individuals.
But the best part of that is that the person can tell you
Yes.
Yeah.
that they want to work,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Grace, I asked Grace, I'm like, if you want to go get a college degree,
Yeah.
we can go do that.
Yeah.
And she said, no, I don't think I need a degree for what I want to do in my life. I said,
Yeah.
well, what do you want to do in your life? She goes, I just want to be the chairperson of our foundation.
Wow.
That's all she wants to do. That's her
Wow.
mission.
So she's studying all the things that
Yeah.
needs to know to be a
Yep.
foundation runner.
Before, and I
Foundation runner.
can't believe we're probably in about 6 minutes. So we're going to need to wrap up. We're here on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM, the Diaspora Door. I'm your host, Enzio Bonello. We're here with Beth Frede, who is a Spell to Communicate practitioner. And we're also here with a parent, a mother, Beth DiPasquale. And she assists her daughter who uses Spell to Communicate. I guess before we wrap up, Beth Frede, please, can you tell us a scenario, a situation where an individual, you just, wow, like this was life-saving for an individual that you started to work with as a practitioner for Spell to Communicate?
Yeah, that's a great question, NZ. So,
Because I'm sure you have many.
So many of my students have just had such transformations. I think one in particular, when he first came to me, I remember his dad. I was thinking about this on the way over. His dad was so scared of him holding the sharp pencil to poke through, the letterboards. He was very afraid, what's going to happen? Are you not going to be safe? Is he not going to? And I was like, we'll take a breath. Let's just work the process. And we did, because we're regulating him as well as communicating. It's
Yes.
regulation too. Anyway, now, so he has been with me for a couple of years, and now he is typing. And he and his parents were talking about, oh my gosh, we've had conversations about epilepsy, about seizures. What does it feel like when it's coming on? Can you tell? What do you need from us? That kind of thing. So that's been incredible. Why do you keep taking the sheets off your bed? Oh, they're pilling. He said, they're pilling. They're not comfortable. Okay. He needs new sheets. To, the mom and dad and he were having a conversation about just how calm his body is now. I mean,
Beautiful.
it's just incredible to see all of the changes. This is one student and barely a smidge of the things with this one guy.
This is beautiful.
So
This is
there's
beautiful.
just so many, and you were talking about employment. Not one of my students, but I consulted with a non-speaker because I had questions about some of my non-speakers. He is a coach for people like me and parents, and like he's coaching.
Wow. No, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
So-
I wish, and we only have like 1 minute. This is phenomenal. We could go on forever. Beth Frede, thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us. Beth DiPasquale, thanks for coming back again.
my pleasure,
Beth Frede,
NC.
before the music comes on, your book recommendation.
Underestimated by a
I
mile
thought
by
so.
JB
I thought
and
so.
Jamie Hanley.
I thought
Underestimated.
so.
Yeah.
It's wonderful what you've shared with us. Listeners, I hope you're appreciating what you're learning about how to make the community more accessible for non-speakers and how we can better understand the tools like the letterboard that non-speakers are using spell to communicate. And we all have different ways that we use to communicate with our iPads, our text, our Bluetooth. Everyone's got some way. So it's great being able to learn a lot more about non-speakers and what is needed so that we can spread the word further. I'm hoping New Hampshire continues to grow, as you're saying, that the community is growing.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, what state would you say, do you know if there are certain states that are far more advanced than New
Florida
Hampshire?
is ahead of us. California's
Florida.
ahead of
Wow.
us. There's a vibrant body of spellers in Atlanta, Georgia. So
Wow.
there's pockets. There's pockets, and we're all over the world now in different countries. So
We spoke about that.
Yeah.
I was wondering about that because different languages and whatnot.
Yeah.
But you're
Yeah.
just going to spell to communicate in your language as you are
Yes.
spelling out in your language. Kind of
Yes.
thing is what I heard. Yeah.
Yes.
No, it's phenomenal. And thank you for the work that you do and the insight that you gave. We're going to have to totally have you come back
Gladly.
because this is phenomenal.
Gladly.
So,
Thank
listeners, thank you for being on the Diaspora Door. Thank you for giving us your time on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. We look forward to seeing you again. And don't hesitate to reach out and learn more. And you were given some links and websites to learn more about Spell to Communicate. Till we meet again, thank you so much for being on the Diaspora Door. And again, great thanks to Beth Frede and Beth DiPasquale for being our guests. We greatly appreciate it. And Grace in the background. Thank you.
Broadcasting from 200 Main Street in the beautiful and historic Masonic Building. This is WSMN 1590 AM and WSMN 95.3 FM, Nashua. Streaming live at WSMN.live.
Dependable lock